Hey Technofreaks, Technode in here, continuing the character breakdowns for Guilty Gear Strive. This time, they aren't worth cutting down, with Nagoryuki.
Let me answer you with my sword.
A double-edged sword personified, Nagoryuki is what I class as a heavy zoner. Heavy because the dude be thick as fuck, meaning that he has the natural mobility of a Zamboni, and zoner because he is able to keep the space in front of him at a forever increasing range. This is in part due to his unique mechanic, Blood Rage. So when Nago uses certain specials, he will fill up the blood gauge located just above the tension gauge. This gauge has a maximum of 3 levels, with each level altering Nago's sword-based normal's properties. This blood price also enables Nago to cancel any special he has for some crazy mobility and combo potential, and I can see you ask, why the hell is that finger curling up? Yeah, you knew it sounded too good to be true. And that is because Nago walks a fine line. As if the meter fills completely, Nago will lose his senses and succumb to his bloodlust, entering Blood Rage. This state increases Nago's sword attacks to their maximum range, damage and speed, while unlocking an extremely powerful overdrive. However, this comes at the cost of his special attacks, and the fact that he will lose up to half of his maximum health over the short 3-second duration he is in this state, before he reverts back to normal and you realise that this wasn't a new form, but a punishment for your greed. And to solidify the fact that this is a punishment and not a buff, you will be the citiest of ducks from the moment you transform. You see, Nago doesn't really want to be in Blood Rage if he can help it. As with most games that utilise a bloodlust or blood rage mechanic have shown, the power of a vampire always has a price. But then how do we reverse this tech, I hear you ask? Well, for starters, the bar will go down on its own accord over time, so long as no specials that fill it are used. But the main cure comes in the form of certain attacks, the most accessible being ones involving his adachi, that very long-ass katana. There are more ways to cure the disease, but we'll get onto that in time. The general idea is to walk that fine line with the meter at a safest spot you can, and avoiding going into Blood Rage at all costs. Key attacks are as followed, starting with 6p. This has Nago deliver a good old-fashioned throat thrust. It's a little on the slower side when compared to other 6ps, hell, it might even be the slowest one in the game, so you will have to kind of read the jump, but it has some decent horizontal range, and if you hit an aerial opponent, it will spike them to the floor with the counter hit slowing them down enough to land a special attack, or if you don't use a special, will cause a hard knockdown for more pressure. Next is his 5k, Nago's Swiss Army Normal. You want anti-air? It does anti-air. You want combo extensions? It does combo extensions. You want punishes? It does punishes. All for the low price of $44.99 and your soul. Seriously though, this move is just ace. His next key normal is his second command normal, 6k, the Big Stompski. This has Nago raise his boot and drive it down to the opponent's foot like the burning bag of dog do they are. The move itself has some hitbox jank, so can kind of fudge out low profile attacks at a certain range. It cancels into all his special attacks and on counter will cause the opponent to stagger, to which they have to mash like crazy to recover, allowing you to go for more moves that you wouldn't normally try. But one of the biggest boons it has is it combos off of 5k, which we have just said is one of his best tools in the game. And because of this, you now have 3 mix-up options to go into from 5k, one of which can guarantee some real chunky combo damage. We now go into 5S, starting with the Far Slash. This has Nago give a literal sword poke, which, while slow, has a jack ton of range. On hit it will ease that bloodlust, albeit only slightly, and its counter hit allows for combos not normally possible. Now what really takes this Far Slash further than others of its own kind is this is classed as a command normal, as it has both a 2-hit and 3-hit auto combo option attached to it. both of which will also lower that bloodlust. Two-hitter is probably the strongest of the lot. It's the safest on block and will feint the three-hitter's animation, making it really hard for the opponent to risk a button, as if they try to punish you for a two-hit, they could end up eating the theoretical third hit, which if they do will result in a thirst-quenching hard knockdown. Speaking of which, only the third hit of the far/string will lower the blood gauge on block. It's also straight up suicide to do so a big tip for this if you have the meter is to do a dash red Roman cancel after the third hit on block. This will keep things your turn, allowing you to mix the opponent up and keep the pressure on. Now close slash is another good move, using Nago's wakizashi to lift the opponent up into the air. It doesn't lower the blood gauge at all because, you know, wrong sword, but it does link into his far slash for an easy combo and a bit of blood loss. It's also one of his fastest startup attacks, and works great as an anti-air option, albeit a point-blank one. Next we have 5H, because, well, look at it! It's a huge sword slash that covers a good chunk of the screen. Damage, range and speed all get buffed the higher the blood level is, and on counter hit will send the opponent flying with enough airtime to throw out a special and keep the combo alive. His next key attack is his final command normal, 6H, and this heavy vertical slash is your godly combo ender of the evening. Once again increasing the range, damage and speed the higher the blood level is, and taking another chunk of blood off your debt. If it lands on a counter hit, it's a hard knockdown to which you can use the attack again to hit the opponent off the ground, which is one of his main uses for it, as landing the attack as an off the ground hit and following up with certain special attacks allows for some great setups. And what makes this move even better is you can Gatling from 5k, making it just beastly. Our final key attack is his 2H. This is the big, bad anti-air that takes up most of the screen and increases in range, damage and speed the higher your blood gauge goes once again. On hit, this will send your opponent full screen, be they from land, sea or air, which really doesn't do much, just your average zoney keepy way stuff. But on counter, it's your most punishing combo starter with enough height and slowdown to do whatever your non-staked heart desires. Once again, I'll throw in his jump slash, heavy slash and dust here into the honourable mentions because of the range options and the fact that they all lower the blood gauge, because big swordy. Jump slash and dust hit far, making them great air-to-air options, with dust also having the soul-esque wall bounce attached to it. The only downside is that angle is a bit awkward to combo into, while jump heavy is once again your best jumping option, with that very long vertical hitbox as he drives his sword down in a very familiar way. What is it about people with long-ass katanas wanted to do this particular motion? Now onto specials, and before I start, to simplify the gains of the blood gauge, I'm going to treat it as 3 separate bars of meter. 1 level equals 1 bar, okay? Good. So we start with Fukyo.
Watch your profanity.
This is Nago's sick and twisted replacement for his ground-based dashes, and is pretty much a big part of being Nagoryuki. When used, the move will fill your blood gauge by 1/3 of a bar. So 3 Fukyos will give you 1 full level. You can go either forwards or backwards, and if you hold the kick button down, you can sort of shuffle port by tapping the directional button you want to go. However, be careful, as going overboard will see you raging before you know it. Generally, you only want to do this to assert your dominance.
Disclaimer, Tech was only making a joke, please don't actually do this.
No, the best part of this move is you can go into any attack as you reappear. Normals, specials, even a jump, which will actually gain distance from the momentum you have. Using Fukyo can allow you to get in with that close slash to pop them up, or can be used to get out of a bad situation. Now, a good tip is to practice holding the opposite direction to where you have already Fukyo'd. Doing so will cut the momentum dead, allowing you to better position yourself for combos, punishes, or just general pressure tools. Now, obviously Fukyo's momentum can have its actual benefits, so knowing when to cut the momentum and not to cut the momentum will really boost your game. Next we have Zansetsu, Nago's only projectile based move. This has Nago shoot another Nago from out of his nether regions to deliver a bloody slash to the opponent. Did I read that right? It's advantageous on block, has decent range, and trades well with other projectiles, snuffing out all but the multi-hittingest of moves. However, its downsides are one, it's quite slow on startup, so you can easily jump out of the way, which is actually the best way to deal with the move, and you are taught this through the mission modes. The other downside is because it's an offensive-based special, the blood cost is quite high, filling one bar up to about 75%, which is universal for all his offensive blood specials. So, one offensive blood special and a Fukyo will go over one blood level, while two offensive blood specials and a Fukyo will have you straight up 2 levels. See how quick you can max this out? It's almost as bad as my bank balance every month. Now the biggest boon it gets from all this is that passive ability to cancel any special into another special, especially Fukyo. By doing Fukyo instantly after Nagoryuki, you can teleport and appear just as the other Nago leaves, and with the right timing and positioning, can either link up for combos, continue pressure on a blocking opponent, or counter/punish the opponent for pressing buttons. Really powerful combination, and it only gets deeper from here. His next move is Kamoriyuki, also known as Let It Rip, because Nago lunges in, delivering a spinning slash like a Beyblade. This move is neutral on block, meaning if the opponent blocks it, no one has an advantage, and whoever has the fastest input wins. Now you can get around this with a good old 6p on anything that isn't a low, but otherwise Fukyo has your back here, allowing you to escape the attack unharmed. This move is easy to combo into, and on counter will pop the opponent high enough to get a full combo in off of, you guessed it, Fukyo. Now 2 really big things to point out is 1, this move travels pretty far and hits pretty far, making it a great option to get out of the corner, especially against Ram players. Ramlethal's swords can be extremely annoying in the corner because, well, they explode, and Nago would have a lot of issues getting out of that situation if not for Kamoriyuki. And it's a really viable tool. If the Ram jumps, the recovery is quick enough to set up an anti-air, and if she doesn't, well, she has to block. Either way, you are out of the corner. And the final most super advanced thing I will talk about on this move is that it has Nago take to the skies for a brief moment. And in that briefest of moments, you have one of the most crazy concepts going. So, if you time a purple Roman cancel the moment Nago takes his foot off the ground, Nago will use that momentum to launch himself a decent ways across the screen. Not a broken length, just a decent air dash length. Doing this will allow Nago to use any of his air moves much closer to the ground than he'll ever do. And this makes his jump slash super deadly. You can also use this for a 50-50 mix-up off of 2k. I mean, this whole concept has some crazy potential for mix-ups, setups and combos. Now his final blood special is Shizoryuki, and this is Nago's weak attempt at a dragon punch, having only top body invulnerability as opposed to full body invincibility. This has Nago deliver a double slash that pops the opponent up before slamming them back from whence they came. It's unsafe on block, super death on whiff, but like every other blood special, you can cancel either hit into any other blood special attack, preferably either Nagoryuki or Kamoriyuki, the latter being a true block string, albeit a costly one. Cancelling the first hit into Fukyo will be your main source for combo damage, which adds to Nago's biggest boon in that he doesn't need Roman cancels to deal decent damage, allowing you to spend that tension at your own discretion. But again, all these options build a jack ton of blood for the blood gauge, and while the Odachi can suppress the symptoms, it can't cure the disease. No, to do that we need blood-sucking universe. That sounds like one of those emo grunge bands that only gets gigs at care homes and leave the residents there scarred for life. This has Nago do what vampires do best, and go for the neck, dealing decent damage that increases the higher your blood level is, and it drains the blood gauge pretty much entirely, Literally, the best I can say, it's about 95% of the entire blood gauge itself. Now, just like the blood accumulation, this is done over time, meaning you can land the bite with no blood, and it will still be draining, sort of negating the blood you can accumulate, meaning if you land this bite, you can theoretically go to town on those blood attacks. For an example, this string will cause you to enter the rage state, but if you land the bite beforehand, it will be suppressed and only gain you 1 level after the bite buff ends. But there are issues. Its T-Rex stubby arms level of short range and the inability to combo into it makes things a lot harder for you, let alone the fact that throws and command grabs can't land for a set time after the grabby wakes up, which if you do miss, you're dead. So a big tip is to purple roam and cancel the bite the moment you see it miss. It will really save you from a royal beatdown. But then how the hell do we land this bastard? Well, it's all about that grappler mentality, using fake outs, making them want to block so then you can grab him. Things like the feint from the far slash string, the red Roman cancel from the 3-hit string, jump ins, and most importantly, if we haven't already gathered, Fukyo. This move is one of your best chances to pull it off, because it hides what you are doing, and you have a lot of ways to set up Fukyo. Off the projectile, Fukyo off a wake up. Hell, keeping things fresh with Fukyo and even the forbidden dash will gain you a lot of ample opportunities to bite. For overdrives, we start with Wasoriyuki, a fast, short-ranged attack that has 2 different attack properties. At close range, Nago will proceed to slash the opponent into the heavens, before creating his own personal background that will drain the blood gauge down to nearly 2 bars. However, not at a fast enough pace to prevent the accumulating blood, so you can find yourself landing the attack and still going into blood rage if you were already in danger of going there. If you land the attack at max range, it will knock the opponent up into the air, but will not do the slashes to the heavens. They just land on the floor, and while you can combo into this, I really can't see the actual point of this, and don't know why it's even here, as only the cinematic drains blood and there's no real advantage for you. It just punishes you for landing your overdrive. Now, one cool thing you can do if you have the tension is you can actually red Roman the moment you see the background, and with good timing, continue the combo in the corner for extremely good damage. Finally, we have Zansetsu, which I think is Japanese for home run hitski, and if it isn't, it bloody well should be. This move replaces Wasoriyuki the moment Nago enters blood rage, and has the vampire use all of his anger to swing the sword like he was trying to hit a touchdown in the corner pocket, or however you play baseball. It's pretty much death on block, as you will just stand there reminding yourself that everyone's a winner as you embrace the inevitable beatdown you are about to receive. But this thing literally covers full screen and is one of the highest damaging overdrives in the game. It also removes blood rage the moment it's used. So if you have the tension, landing this off the 2S5H string is going to either win you the game or at least make things that little bit more even. Overall, Nagoryuki lives by that double sword comparison, as I both love him and hate him at the same time. The style and the look are amazing, and the ability to cancel specials into other specials at the cost of meter really gives me that Sin Kisk vibe from Xrd. That being said, everything else kind of rubs me the wrong way. He is so slow, and not just in movement, but his actions as well. His fast slash is slower than most of the roster's heavy slash, and his anti-air is slower than even the other thick boy Potemkin. And it shows, as it can be easily snuffed out to the point that it becomes almost useless to you. Preferably he should be about 2 frames faster on both of these attacks, but in my opinion all 6Ps should be the same speed, or at least around it. MK11 has unique uppercuts, and that pisses me off as well, as some have more range or speed than others, which makes some really dangerous with anti-airs or wake-up attacks, and others just may as well not have the mechanic at all. And that's what really gets me. They're universal. Universal things should be sort of, universal. But I digress. His range itself sounds good on paper, but when you realise that the way this game works is that swords count as an extension of yourself, it's literally like blocking a punch with your face, and you start to get put off. I mean, you can barely trade blows without either both of you getting counters, or you just getting your ass handed to you for making the right read. Then there's the Blood Rage mechanic itself, which I just don't know how to feel. To me, damage and range don't mean diddly squat when you move at a snail's pace and the opponent can just hug the other side of the screen while your health goes down, avoiding anything you actually throw at them, bar from Zansetsu, which they will more than likely block and punish you for using it. If he regained the ability to dash while in this form, I could accept it more, but even then, the price feels too steep. It only takes 4 offensive moves to enrage, meaning if they want to play the zone game, Nago has only 3 attempts to get in with the trade. Not to mention you'll need to use Fukyo to get in, so with that you take another projectile away just to be safe. He gets little to no blood back if the opponent blocks his Odachi attacks, and on hit it's fine, but the real thing the devs wanted you to do since at least Beta 2 is use the command grab more. That is the main way to replenish your blood, meaning if you play the way they intended, utilizing your combos and then getting the bite off to reset the bar, keeping up your pressure, you need that bite to land. One miss and you are enraged and done. So why did they put you against the world in order to land it? It's point blank range, the Dragon Punch input, and the fact that everyone is invincible to throws on wake up for a short period of time makes landing this necessity move a complete ball ache. Play aggressive, mistime the grab, well, it was nice knowing you. Still though, once you get the hang of it, it's still a ball ache. Honestly though, salt aside, I can't deny that when you pull it off, there is a slight beat of accomplishment that resonates in your heart. Now, game plan wise, I have seen 2 main styles. Balls to the wall crazy aggression, ending with the bite to remove that blood and rinse and repeat, and the second more precise act of getting a bit of meter and using your air quotes range to keep the space. Literally getting the fine art of mixing those 2 styles has been the best way to go for me. No matter what, you want to keep the pressure on if you can. Away Fukyo after the double fast slash string back into a double fast slash can be a great bait. Really practice timing the bite off of 6H. If you're struggling to get it off Fukyo, try to delay it a little further, or if you have the meter, use Kamoriyuki. This can also be said as the follow-up for his close slash and 2K options on the opponent's wake up. Now if you are going to rage, try doing it in a situation where you have the advantage, sticking the opponent to the wall, mid-combo, that sort of thing. And finally, look, Nago is cool and he is fun, but he is also one of the hardest characters to play because he requires so much management and inputs. If your thumbs are burning or your wrist is aching, well, it just means you're getting better. Keep that in mind, and in time, you will show your opponent that, with more training, they may have stood a chance.
Do not wallow in defeat. Take pride that you did your best.
Okay, that's it for today's video. Hope it helps, and if it did, don't forget to like, share, subscribe, Zansetsu that bell thingy, and follow me on the Twitch and Twitters. Also, if there's any tips or tricks you found yourself, or want me to cover someone else in the future, let me know in the comments section below. And finally, tune in next time where martial arts is a dance, with Anji Mito. But until that day, this has been Techno Odin. Stay safe, claim skulls, and let's rock.
Know the smell of the game.